whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie,
And Nikisha,
where we share our love for spooky things and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to my spooky room, all of you YouTubers that are watching us. It's a fireplace. You can't see because it's a little blurry, but that's my little pumpkin back there too. Little pumpkin right
I
here.
love that.
So, welcome to the space. And today, it's always just a doozy, but this is a doozy. We're talking about basically a movie that's the worst escape room ever. The 2021 American coming-of-age supernatural horror film, The Black Phone. Dun, dun,
ring,
dun.
ring. Ooh.
Yes.
Is there such thing as a spooky ring? Like, what would be a spooky ringtone? Just
Ring,
old-timey.
ring.
Oh,
Great.
I was going for the classic ring, ring.
Or
Either way.
are there any movies that have like phone calls as like a core component, and so like the phone ringing or like the ringtone? I feel like I've definitely seen movies where maybe One Missed Call.
Yes.
Is a thought in my brain.
I do want to say the sound of phones ringing just give me anxiety in general. Like it was alarms and phone ringing, like that the old timey like rotary phone, like that like very visceral ring gives me anxiety. I don't know if it's because like as a kid I was afraid like my teachers were gonna call my mom at night and like I would get in trouble.
At night?
Like they would like call my mom and I like after school being like, you know, he was a real class
Oh, Brian's
clown.
mom, are you in bed right now?
Yeah.
I've got something to report.
I don't know. Like that would give me anxiety, but like I don't know. But phone ringing, like, and people don't answering that, and people don't answer them, gives me a tremendous amount of anxiety, and stuff like that always makes me jump in movies. Like, I'm a core component of Scream, phones ringing, Black Christmas, like we watched.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Black Christmas. But
anyone never changed their ringtones?
Well, I was just about to say, as millennials, when was the last time you heard your ringtone? Because we keep our stuff on silent.
My phone's on silent. It doesn't even vibrate. It doesn't even vibrate in my pocket. If I'm not looking at my phone, I miss the phone call. But I'm always looking at my phone, so I never miss a phone call. I'm kidding.
But I am like that nerd that like I've absolutely like my phone still has them even though I don't have my phone on loud. I purposefully downloaded ringtones and like have them on my phone. Like I don't even know if it's gonna play. This is
Nintendo.
This Super Mario is my ringtone. Again, my phone is never on, so nobody will ever hear it. But I feel like that gives less anxiety, unless you played the game as a kid and that gives you anxiety. In which case,
well, yes,
talk to a therapist. But
in that case, please keep your phones on silent.
Mm-hmm.
What a millennial nostalgic flashback, because now I'm thinking of all the ringtones that I actually had to download off of the computer and try to put into my phone.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Crazy.
100%.
Just on we're giving our ages, so I know y'all look young, guys, now that you can see us, but
youthful
there was
complexion.
a time way back when. Fantastic. So we're talking about all things phones. It doesn't matter if you have an Apple or Android, join the party. We're here. But The Black Phone was directed by Scott Derrickson, and it was written by Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill. That's what I'm going to say. Is it Cargill? I'm going to say Cargill. It's spelled Cargill.
I love it.
And this movie stars Mason Thames, what a name, superstar name, Madeline McGraw, Jeremy Davies, James Ranson, and a one Ethan Hawke as the Grabber.
Ooh.
I didn't like that at all. Wait, say his name again.
The Grabber. I can't do it again.
Oh God!
Brian.
With this guy and his mask.
Okay. If you're just listening, Brian just pulled out a mask.
so unpleasant.
Very unpleasant. So now you have to wear that for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, it's hard to breathe, but I'll do it.
Wait, can you please tell us what this mask symbolizes? What is this? What
Sure.
are you representing?
So I'm like super into masks and mask making and stuff like that. I learned it in
Mm.
acting school and all of that. This is a doctor mask from Bologna, Italy. This represent like in
Oh.
Commedia dell'arte, this represents kind of like the doctor father type figure. It has the straw. If you're watching, you can see, but if you're listening, it's only a half mask, so it's just the forehead essentially above the eyes, and then it comes down into like a peninsula around the nose, and
Mm.
the strong brow and the big nose are represent kind of what that character
Father
is
figure.
like symbolically and archetypically.
Yes. I love it. I mean,
Deep.
it's super, super creepy. Just get some, little
Very.
makeup under there. You'll be good to go
Yeah,
for Halloween this
I'll be
year.
like, you want to see these black balloons?
You should totally dress up as the grabber for this Halloween.
I
Oh,
do not want to dress up as the grabber for Halloween,
I'm
but
just saying it would look great.
but also, yeah, I mean, that would be an awesome costume with the
Mm.
but from the poster, like with the top hat and like the painted on big mouth, and yeah,
Yes,
totally.
absolutely. So obviously, hever spoilers. Obviously, heavy spoilers for the Black Phone. And Jamie, give us those trigger warnings because I know there are some.
Yes, indeed. I mean, this movie is about child abduction. So just starting off
Mm-hmm.
with that, that's what this movie is about. There's also child murder in this movie. We don't necessarily see the murders take place, but we do sometimes see the aftermath of these murders in the form
Mm.
of jump scares. So also, if you don't like jump scares, maybe not for you.
Yeah.
And I I think that's
Oh,
it.
and
Murders.
parent abuse.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank
Yeah.
you. I think my brain just like intentionally blocks out unpleasant traumatic things.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got here, but yes, indeed. There is child abuse, there's alcohol abuse. So if any of these things are unpleasant to you, make you uncomfortable, steer clear. Maybe listen to the suggestions instead.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully the suggestions will be easier on the eyes than
Actually, both of mine are not
I
as
know,
I look
same.
at
Mine
them.
aren't either.
Oops.
Great.
Mine's actually worse, but
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
whatever.
Same.
What floats your boat?
Yeah. Are you really into child abduction movies? Have I got another movie for you?
Just trying to
Oopsies.
escape death,
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. Hashtag doing our best. So before we start into everything that is the Black Phone, I was going to say the Black Mirror, but also where's that season? Because come on,
Oh, I
Netflix,
know.
let's get in with that. Brian has some words for us. Producer Brian.
Always have some words. So essentially, we need you to follow us. We would love for you to follow us.
Mhm.
You can find us, of course, on YouTube. Hi, everyone, if you're watching.
Hi.
Wherever you get podcasts, you can find us
So
there.
all of our teeny viewers,
fingers. You can see our
small.
teeny fingers. I actually have sausage fingers. My fingers are very big. If you're making breakfast with me, be very careful. I don't want you to cut my fingers off.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, so find us also on social media at Talk Horror Pod. We are on TikTok. We're doing some super fun stuff on TikTok. We're also on Instagram. We're doing some. I'm trying to build up our Instagram a little bit, and then you can find us on Twitter. And all of that, and make sure you subscribe to us everywhere. And because we're not just talking about these movies that you hear us talking about here. We're watching a ton of movies, and we're doing some of those reviews and stuff specifically on TikTok. Like Jamie and I are watching through the Nightmare on Elm Street series. I'm watching through the Friday the 13th series. I'm about to start the third one.
Yay.
Yeah, so you can find all that stuff on there. Like Jamie, you just watched Unfriended, the dark web?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Tell me about it.
I sure did. Yeah, it was actually recommended to me by a new friend that I met on Bumble BFF that shares an interest in horror. And I was like, I want to watch a found footage-esque horror. That is what I'm in the mood for.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, bop, bop, bop. like came in with the suggestions hot.
Love it.
So shout out to Zena if you're listening to this. This one's for you.
Yay!
And yeah, I made that's not my TikTok debut on our
No,
TikTok
you've been on there
account,
before.
but I'm very bad at making TikToks, so I'm working on it. But I made one with the 4 S's. So if you're curious about what my skulls, scares, shakes, and my suggestions are, hopefully Brian will upload that soon on TikTok and you can check it out.
Well, you did an awesome TikTok about Billy versus Stu.
Oh yeah, I forgot. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
We got to reboot that.
Which
one.
I made. I don't know if we'll do that for this one, but I did make a Billy versus Stu sound effect whenever we get to a segment like that.
I can't wait to hear it. Also, Jamie, I just want to say kudos to you for using Bumble for the actual BFF moment.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't think people did that. I think that's awesome that you found, and what a smart idea to find other like-minded horror females through Bumble and not through the trash men that I've experienced on the Bumble.
Well, fun fact, they did open Bumble BFF to all genders connect with each other. And then they, after maybe a week, promptly changed that because it didn't work out the way that they wanted it to.
Of course it didn't.
I don't know who this surprises, but
no one.
No one.
It surprises no one.
Mm-hmm. Nikisha, do you have a favorite app? Like, do you have a preference of app? Like, you like the way that it's structured for dating and things like that?
Okay. So I only have tried Hinge and Bumble, and I will say that I like Hinge for how detailed you have to be to make a profile.
Okay.
Because Bumble, you can just put your picture and your name, and then that's it. And I don't know who you are, sir. Just by your picture, you could be lying. Okay. And so I go back and forth because Hinge is, let's get married right now. And Bumble, at least in my experience, the people the profiles that I have come across are people who are like, have a ring in their pocket, ready to just hop on it. And I'm not there. Let's have a cup of coffee, please. And Bumble is a little bit more casual, but not as casual as Tinder. So I think Bumble is the good in between.
Sure.
For me.
Is Bumble still
the female reaching out?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And then so the guys can match with whoever, but the female has to match and then start the conversation in order for you to continue on in the conversation. But I mean, I'm going to try to use it for other horror BFF friends.
Yeah,
I think that's a cute idea. Yes. Also, on the watching movies train and things that we have seen, I just heard that you guys finally finished 50 Shades of Grey, the first one.
Yes.
Indeed we did.
How long did it take you to finish that?
I gotta say my piece.
Please. I want to hear all of it.
I've watched a lot of movies. Like a lot of movies. You know me. Like, I've watched
movies was a central theme of our wedding speeches. Yes! Like, they talked about Brian loves movies more than Brian loves Jamie. Just putting it out there.
Anyway, no comment on that. But I do love movies, and there were a ton. I've seen so many. I'm prefacing this because 50 Shades of Grey may be one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And here's why. Are there worse made movies? Absolutely. But for how much this movie probably cost, like, it is, and what it's supposed to be, like, sexually and all of that, it is not sexy. There is no chemistry. The lines are dumb, and he is just the most piece of wood character I've ever seen on screen. She's a blank slate, and like, she's trying. Dakota Johnson is trying, but it's still just like a very, like, it's a bad character. Like, all of this.
Yes.
It's just, and then it ends the way it ends, which I know is like setting up the next one, but like you can't. The thing is, I understand that this movie is just all about like these sex scenes and this like feeling dominated and like whatever the case may be. However, these characters have no growth. These characters don't change from point A to point B. It's a It's a terrible movie where everyone's not on the same page. There's no chemistry. It's truly bad. I find no guilty pleasure in a movie like this. And like, I know someone would probably say like, well, this was made for women and this, it's like, no, like I am speaking as a person who watches movies and cries at all of them and loves them. And like, obviously I can't relate to some over another in the same way that maybe you or Jamie can relate to them. I totally understand that. And I love hearing the other side of things, but like, to this one, to this one. Thank you.
No.
And that's been Parlor Talk.
Parlor Talk.
Come, sit, have a drink. It's Parlor Talk.
Oh boy.
I mean, but as a female who has watched this, and I also do not speak for all of womankind either, but I will agree with everything that you said. And the second one is not any better, but they did say, let's lessen the lines and put more sex because that's probably the only thing that's bringing people back, not the actual dialogue and relationship between these two people.
No, but you finished the second one?
Yeah, I finished it. I think we talked about it before because I said the ending was they didn't know where to go, and so that they introduced a random
we did
character.
talk about that. We did talk. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I black out any 50 Shades of Grey conversation.
But now I just want to know what happens in the third one.
Yeah,
just because.
I mean, it's free. You're not paying for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll wait through the ads just to see what happens while I watch TikTok and this at the same time and still miss what's happening. You know, like we all do.
When we were watching it, I was like on my phone for a second, and Jamie's like, "No, you have to watch this scene." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then the movie ended. I was like, "Wait! That was the last scene in the movie?"
Right.
I thought we had another hour of this schlock.
Right. She said, "Goodbye, Mr. Gray," and that elevator closed, and those credits came up, and jaw dropped.
You're like, where's the rest of the movie? Like, it's not even a cliffhanger. It just like seems like this awkward. Like, did you print the book and by accident? Like this was unintentional.
Yeah. Oh, anyway,
yes, because we could go on a full tangent about that, but we're here to talk about the Black Phone. I want to assume that this is all of our first time watching this. Okay, beautiful. So let's do a plot summary.
What's the plot?
I will volunteer as tribute because I know this is going to be very terrible what I'm about to say. But we're going to try.
All right.
Hashtag try.
I'm going to hook you up with 2 minutes. So for those of you who haven't listened to this podcast before, welcome. We give one of us 2 minutes to do the entire plot of the movie we're talking about. Today it is The Black Phone. I'm only explaining it because it buys me time to set it to 2 minutes. Ready, Nikisha?
No. Let's go.
Go.
So we open up in the late 1970s, a simpler time where there's no internet, no phones, or at least cell phones, and kids just beat the shit out of each other because there's no adults around at all. And so we open up with this brother and sister, and we figure out that there's somebody who's kidnapping kids. Now, this brother and sister, they're special because the sister has a special power. She's been touched and her dreams tend to come to reality. And so she kind of is giving clues to the detectives of who is grabbing these kids. And so then in the midst of that, her brother, Finney, gets kidnapped. So he's in this room. There's a phone, but it's disconnected, so it doesn't work. He's trying to escape, and then the phone rings, and he picks it up, and eventually it's all of the other kids that have been kidnapped and killed. They are communicating with him through this black phone, trying to tell him ways to get out of this room. And so he uses all these different ways, and they don't work. All the while, the police are still looking for things, and he's in a basement, and the grabber and his lives with his brother, which is also random, and the brother is trying to figure out who's grabbing these kids. And so the brother eventually finds the boy in the basement. It's like, oh shit, my brother is not here though, I'm gonna try to save you. And then here comes the grabber and kills his brother, and now the grabber's mad and he wants to kill Finney. And so to tie in everything that Finney has, I want to call him Phineas, which is why I'm like stopping myself. His name is Finney. He uses all of the tools that couldn't get him out separately, but all together worked together for him to be able to kill the grabber and escape. And eventually his sister tells the police that she knows where all the bodies are, and the police find them, and then Finn comes out on top and everybody's happy, and that's the end.
That was good. That was really good.
And that's the plot.
I was hoping I remembered most of the tidbits of that, but that is my interpretation of the Black Phone. So let's get into it with our first segment of likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
So Jamie, do you want to start off? Tell us what your likes and gripes of this movie were.
It was fine. That's my overarching.
Yep.
Like, what I like, it was fine. It was okay. This wasn't my favorite. I feel a little misled. I feel like people were really like hyping this as like this is the best. I've heard that now about like 4 different movies that have come out this year that I don't know if that's necessarily accurate, but like this is the best horror movie of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that this is the best horror movie of 2022. I disagree. I think that there was a lot of things that just like didn't make sense to me that weren't really ever clarified. I will say that I've never read the short story by Joe Hill. So I don't know, that piece and like how they expanded it to make a feature length film.
Yeah.
I liked the concept of like, these past victims who are calling this main character to try to like give him like different pieces of information that ultimately he uses to like escape. I liked that concept, but I think a lot of other things were just like super weak, not clear. Like I didn't fully understand the deal with his sister and like her psychic powers. Or like I also, what was totally unnecessary to me, which I think is why I completely forgot that it happened, was like the fact that their father was abusive didn't need that. Like for me, it wasn't important at all. This didn't need to be here. I have no idea what this had to do with anything in the story. I don't think that it impacted like the character's development in any way. And this is one of those things that's like a general gripe for me of like including very
general gripe.
Another one.
Oh God.
Sorry, please continue.
No, I'm just like rewinding in my brain. I don't like it when there's these like, really traumatic elements included in media that like what's the point of exposing the audience to this? Like what are you trying to do? And this felt totally unnecessary and just like, adding violent imagery just for the sake of violent imagery. And I will say that like, this is by a director whose other films have really had a lasting impact on me. The Exorcism of Emily Rose truly
stellar.
Like, I was shooketh when I saw that. That was when I was still in my like I can't handle horror movies phase, and I was like I like couldn't function. I was like truly terrified. Now rewatch it and it doesn't scare me as much anymore, but there's still that like initial fear or sinister like was wildly uncomfortable the entire watching. But this like just didn't. I don't know. I was a bit disappointed given that I like this director's other films, and like this just for me didn't really stick the landing. My last like is I really liked all of the masks that the grabber wore.
Yes.
But my last gripe, I'm sorry, Brian, your masks scare me. I know I bought you one, but they all freak me out.
I don't like casually wear them. I only wear them when we're talking about the Black Phone.
Yes.
But I don't understand. A gripe is that like they didn't really explain why he was wearing them, or like at the end when it's removed off his face and he's just like, oh, my real face, and like freaks out and then he gets himself killed. I didn't understand that. And maybe this movie, as I've said before, Some highbrow horror goes totally over my head. Maybe I'm too much of a dum-dum to get this one, and that's
No.
okay. But that it does contribute to my enjoyment of this film.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll hop on that because I have the same feelings about this. When I first started watching it, it felt a little chaotic to me, and what was chaotic were the all the cut shots that were happening, especially at the beginning. We're just going from frame to frame of different things, different areas, different environments, and it seemed a little disjointed for me. And I was wondering what was going to be the central story because we had all of these other little things happening. And it was a slow start, but I think once you get halfway in, maybe, an hour in is when I got more into it, when he was trying to figure out how to escape in the rooms. I thought that was more exciting. And I've thought that there were some good human behavior things, like when the girl had the dream about the house and she went to make sure that she saw the same house. And then I was thinking out loud or screaming out loud, please call the police first. Don't try to go in yourself. And then she called the police. Great. 10 out of 10 for the sister making a good choice.
Good
Thank you for
decision
that.
making for
Good
sure.
decision making. And I thought that Finney was smart in the things that he was doing, except when the grabber was asleep in his chair, I would have probably tried to kill the grabber in his sleep as opposed to just try to escape quietly. He was in a kitchen. I'm sure there was a knife somewhere, but that's just me. I still would not have been able to think of all the other stuff that Finney did to get out of this space. So I'll give him all that. And I do like how Jamie said the concept of all of the little things that he tried to do was a part of the bigger plan and he had to use all of it at once to escape. I enjoyed that. I also enjoy kind of the suspending of our disbelief about the phone because you never really ask about the phone too much
Yeah.
and where did it come from and why does it work like that? Why does Finney hear all of the people through this phone? You just go with it, and I like when you don't feel like things need to be explained to that level. You can just be okay with that. Uh and I think, yeah, that was the payoff is nice, but it's a very, very slow start. And so for me, it was also just okay. And I also was just mad that all those kids were beating up each other. And where the fuck are all the adults? What was happening? Those kids were
It's the
like,
70s, baby.
goodness. I will say though, my favorite scene was when the sister was pulling out all of her religious stuff, the rosary and the Bible and the crucifix, and then she was like, Jesus, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Was happening. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, what about you, Brian?
I agree with both of you. I think this movie is totally fine. Um, I think that it was definitely overhyped for me, especially
Mhm.
on TikTok. I feel like a lot of people that I follow ate this movie up, and I don't know whether it's like performative, like I loved it, like more views and stuff like that. Um,
Mm,
I don't think so. But I definitely had, unfortunately that made this movie have a high expectations for me. Um, but um, here's some I did like a lot about this movie. I like the acting. I thought the that Ethan Hawke was spectacular. I thought the
mm,
kids were wonderful. I thought a lot of the adults in general were very. I just thought everybody was on the same page in terms of tone and like brought a lot to this piece, and I really appreciated that. Um, I I actually really liked the first half of this movie. I thought that those little vignettes and kind of like setting the scene and those like fade to black anytime a kid would go near the van. I liked
mm,
all of that, but it did take me a bit to realize that uh all of those moments in the cutscenes at the beginning and the middle throughout the movie were her dreams. And those things were what she was actually seeing. It took me too long to figure that out.
mm,
I don't think that was maybe clear enough in the narrative, like the visual narrative storytelling. Um,
mm,
I did enjoy like that grainy 70s feel to it. I think this movie worked better that it was in the late 70s. Um, I thought that the mask work was really good. I thought that like the concept, as you said, Nikisha, was really good. I liked all of those things.
mhm,
Things I did not like about this movie um, are in line with both of what you said. I did not like the fact that they they set up so much and they reference so many things so much, like her um like her powers. I don't need an
Mhm.
explanation for her powers. That was actually one thing that I didn't mind we didn't get an explanation for. It is what it is. My biggest issue was with the grabber, because you have this incredible actor Ethan Hawke playing the grabber. I don't care that he's not the main character, although trailers and things would make you think that he had a much bigger role in this movie.
Yeah.
So I think that
Mhm.
expectation was poorly spent. Um, but they bring up a lot of things where, like, I spent a lot of time in this basement. He never got the phone to work, or maybe he did and it stopped working. They allude to a lot of this trauma from the grabber, and then they say, like, well, maybe Finney's they on the phone to Finney, the dead kids are like, well, you're not playing the game, like, that's why you're surviving, you're not playing the game, or they would say something like,
Mhm.
he'll, this time he's gonna figure it out, this time he's gonna figure it out. And I'm just like, if you're going to tease all of those things, there should be two twists at the end. Not the first quote twist is that all of these pieces that they've been giving him, these clues, work and help him out. Cool, that's fine.
Mhm.
But that's not enough if you're teasing everything else in this movie.
Right.
I needed a little bit more of like a reveal or just some backstory in him, not to make him empathetic at all, but to just like really tie everything together. I just kind of thought this movie just like floated. It plateaued at a point. It built and built, and then it just like plateaued, and there were no layers, or it wasn't a dynamic film at all. It was just like fine. I think the movie my major gripe with this movie is this movie presents itself as something like really high bar, really substance filled, and I actually don't think it has a lot going for it. But I still
Mhm.
enjoyed it. I think that if I went and if Jamie and I had watched this movie, like, oh, like, some people said they liked it, like, this is on Hulu, like, we'll watch it, I would have been like, whoa, what a good find. But because the expectations were set in such a way, I'm just like, this was totally fine. Oh,
Yeah.
my biggest like is the line. I may have written it down wrong, but you fat fucking fart knockers. Great line.
Fart knockers. I mean, the language and the colloquialisms and things of the 70s, like, what a time. What a time to be alive.
What a time
The
to be
I will
alive.
the kids were
Go
really
ahead.
good in this movie. I know I mentioned the acting, but I didn't bring up the kids, from the kid who played like Robin and stuff to the sister and Finney. Excellent.
Yeah. I liked it. I want to say too that I also liked that it was in the 70s and how it was filmed. I don't know what kind of camera lens that is that they filmed it in, but it definitely did add a little bit of the tension to the story, and it kind of made you feel like the movies back in the 70s, like watching a Halloween or, Friday the 13th or whatever. Um, but yeah, any other likes and gripes about this particular movie? I think we're all like a collective, this was okay
Yeah,
moment.
I don't know. I wanted, if I'm going to see a movie with, I just wanted more Ethan Hawke, and not in like the movies
Mhm.
about him. I got so much from him in his like very small scenes where he's just standing at the door, and that the kid is keeping up with him acting wise, and nothing feels forced or anything like that. Um,
Mhm.
I just needed more layers from the character, not from Ethan Hawke. I needed it from the script or the way it was edited, because like it just
Yeah.
wasn't enough. Like him living, and again, I like movies where you don't really know a lot about they drop these like hints and stuff about the murderer, but the movie is dynamic enough that I don't really care. Like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a perfect example.
Mhm.
The original one, we kind of know that they're cannibals. We kind of know that they're in the middle of nowhere and that they capture her. Like, I don't know why he's wearing like a woman's face or makeup on like the leather face. I don't know why he's the
Yeah.
one cooking. Like, there's a lot of trauma or whatnot going there with, there's a lot of things in that movie about those quote villains and bad guys in the first one that they never explain. But the movie is interesting and dynamic enough that like it's scary enough, to be honest, that I'm not like
Mhm.
questioning like I need more about Leatherface. Like, I haven't seen a lot of the other ones. Maybe they explain some more. Like, but in that original one, I don't need that. In this one, because of what this movie is and looks like and feels like, and what they voluntarily offer up information, because nothing is explained at the end of this movie, and they left all these hints. I know I'm repeating this over and over again, but it really bothered me. I just felt like there's a whole nother layer of this movie that like got edited out or whatever, because like this was written by Joe Hill, Stephen King's son. Like, I truly think that, like, knowing his dad's work enough, like, there's another level to this that like is just not on film, and the narrative storytelling in this movie feels very incomplete.
Yeah. No, I get that. Speaking of layers, Brian, do you want to talk about your masking work? How'd you feel about the mask in the movie?
So mask work is very interesting. There are different ways to like embody it. Like sometimes like prepare, you like put the mask on and you look in the mirror and you like let it affect your physical appearance. You have to do different, the acting is different because like right now, if you're watching me, like I don't have use of my eyebrows and my forehead. My eyebrows and forehead right now are all just this one static look. But the way that my eyes are and the way that my mouth and jaw can move affects the way that my entire face looks, because this whole part of me from my nose and into my eyebrows is just like is static essentially. So there's definite different techniques. You can do it from the outside in. Some people like to like stare at their mask like face to face and just like try to absorb it. If you've built your own mask, then like there's a different kind of layer to that. Some masks, like when he was wearing the full face mask,
Yeah.
it's all about the vocal choices and the eyes, because he had that top piece and he would clearly be like clipping new like mouthpieces into
Bottom
the
pieces,
bottom.
yeah.
And like the choice of putting that in, of which one to put in to talk to the boy and stuff like that, is a whole nother piece. We didn't learn a lot about him, but maybe the mask is his way of you know um hiding his trauma. Maybe the mask is his way that he can connect to people. Like he feels like there's something in between, so it's an alter ego. Maybe he's actually a very sweet man, to the world, but he puts the mask on and like this is his true inner self. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
how does he interact with his brother? Does his brother like see this person? You know what I mean? Like how did the brother not knows what's going on downstairs, like because he's always coked up or whatever. But like
Right.
there was a lot of that dynamic there, and I feel like the mask had a lot to do with that. He doesn't sleep. Why does he don these masks, or why does he choose these specific masks? He mentions that he's a magician, whether that's real or not, or just like there could be a ton of symbolism in this, and why he wears a mask, and why is this, and why he's a magician. But it all just felt very surface level. It seemed like the actors were doing more work than the script. Like it seemed like they had a lot of these behind the scenes conversations. Like the director would be like, what's his name, Scott Derrickson,
Yeah.
like behind the scenes would just be like, what's the trauma? Like maybe Ethan Hawke built the full backstory, but honestly, because the acting was so interesting and layered, and the script didn't allow for that to come out, it left me wanting more. But I think the mask work was pretty good in general. But I don't think that we got enough story to kind of pull some of the mask stuff out of it, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does. And, there are so many classes on mask work just for the things that Brian has said. I've never taken one of those classes, but Brian has. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that what he's talking about. So subscribe to our YouTube so you can actually see what he's saying. But it does take a special actor to not use your eyebrows, not only have the use of your eyes, or only have the use of your mouth, or only have the use of your head motions when you do have, the full mask on. But even you talking about this makes me think, Ethan Hawke is a pretty big name of an actor. Maybe he signed on for this movie because maybe there will be a backstory for the grabber.
Sure, like
I
Pearl.
don't know. Yes, like Pearl.
Pearl and the
Maybe.
Grabber. Sounds like a
Oh god.
band.
That's what y'all should be for Halloween. Pearl and the Grabber. I'm just saying. Couple costumes.
That's a lot of hours of old person makeup. I don't know if I have it in me to go through that.
You got it. I believe in you.
And like I've seen Ethan Hawke on stage a couple of times, just like he's incredible. Like the energy he brings into a room, and I'm like, forget about his movies that I love. I actually very much enjoy him as an actor. And like he's just he's magnetic. There's something very much about him that just like the energy that he exudes in that those theaters is incredible. And then like even stuff like Boyhood or you know Dead Poet Society and stuff like that. Like at every age, he brings something special to the table. All the sunset movies, like Before Sunset, After Sun, like Before Sunrise, like okay, so those of you who are listening to us, nothing has happened. Don't worry. For those of you watching us on YouTube, my Zoom video gave out, so we are just recording the audio now, so you can't see us, but you can listen to us. You've already seen my mask. That's
Yes.
totally cool. That's totally fine. So let's keep going. Maybe we just go straight into brains.
Yeah, let's do it.
Indeed.
Brains. Much.
Brains.
Beautiful. Oh no. Okay, so Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have had your time in social work. Yes, to an extent.
Indeed. I've had some time.
Grand. So I just have a question for the whole scenes that you blocked out of your brain, but just about the alcoholic abuse of the father. And when I was watching that scene, I thought to myself, could those kids have called protective services for themselves? What would that process look like? Because coming from a kid and then having to go through the believability of it all, unfortunately, please tell me about that process. And could they have had a case if they called?
Yeah. And so Child Protective Services is run by, I believe, each state. Each state has their own like laws and rules. And I say that I think I know this because I'm licensed to practice social work in 3 states, and each time I believe I've had to take some kind of like child abuse training, and it's a requirement for the license in that state. And the reason why I've had to do it so many different times is because each state has their own
Different
laws
requirements.
and
Yeah.
rules. Yeah. But I mean, it's all the same. They're all the same rules. So like, so silly.
Yes. Yeah.
Anywho, that being said, like not only social workers, but all kinds of professionals who work with or around children are often what is known as a mandated reporter. So these trainings that folks have to do are called like mandated reporter trainings. And the idea is that, like, again, if you are working closely or with children, if you suspect that there is child abuse taking place, any reasonable cause to believe that there's child abuse taking place, then it is your duty as a mandated reporter to make a call to the Child Protective Services agency that you would report to in your state. And I don't know, like, timing years wise when a lot of these laws in each state went into effect and how long these things have existed. And so like, yeah, I mean, they probably do teach you the history of it in the beginning of these trainings, but I do not remember. What I do remember, instead of the law, that part of the law, I remember what the laws actually mean in terms of what my duty is. So I'm sorry if I don't know when these laws went into effect.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of like contacting CPS, I feel like more often than not, and maybe this is just based on my own experience and like anecdotes that I know of, that like kids themselves aren't calling CPS, but like they're reporting to adults around them who are then calling on behalf. So that could look like going to school, telling a school counselor. It is that school counselor's responsibility to call Child Protective Services and file a report on behalf of that child. I mean, and also any adult can file a report. That you don't have to be a mandated reporter. They even have I think I mean, the states that I'm licensed in have like anonymous hotlines. You can call them
Oh,
anonymously and
yeah.
say like, "Hey, I don't know if this is child abuse or not, but XYZ was reported to me. Like, I don't know what that means." And they'll
Mhm.
tell you like, "Hey, yep, we have to move forward with this as a report. So now it's not anonymous and you have to tell me what's up."
Right.
But like if you're not sure, you can call and give that information. So
Yeah.
it's also like, I mean, I think there's also, without needing to be reported to them, like, again, adults who are working regularly with children can pick up on like when something is going on.
Mhm.
So, like Finney's character, this entire movie until the very end, where he's suddenly super cocky and confident
Yeah.
because he survived a traumatic event, whatever. Um, he is like very much, he's being bullied. He doesn't have a lot of close friends. He has one close friend that ends up getting kidnapped by the grabber.
Mhm.
So he's kind of like a loner. You'd think that the teachers would also like pick up on that, maybe check in on him. How
Yeah.
might that also be connected to like picking up on, things going on at home? I just feel like there's loads of missed opportunities for like adults to do a better job. But
Yes.
all the adults in this are pretty bad.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And
so there's that.
to that point, that just makes me think about disciplinary actions, especially, in that time period. And even I would say when we were growing up and the whole deal with spanking and all
Hmm.
that. So, is there a strict line of, this is cause for calling the CPS, or this is just a parent's disciplinary action and we can just let them continue to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also like definitely a cultural element to how
Fair.
parents discipline their children. And there are different cultures that discipline their children differently. And I I don't think that there is that much consideration into that. It's more I do feel like mandated reporting looks more black and white.
Mm,
However, I think it depends on the context of like, how intense is the spanking? Is it like causing significant bodily harm and injury to the child? I
yeah.
mean, also you can look at like there's research into how to discipline children, and like physical punishment often based on research isn't necessarily going to lead to like the outcomes that you're hoping for in
Mm,
terms of
yeah.
why you might be punishing a child.
Right.
um and I think we even talked about like positive and negative reinforcement in a previous
Yes.
episode. I forget what the movie was that we were talking about that with.
I forgot too, but I remember us having that discussion.
Yeah, positive and negative reinforcement.
Reinforcement.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
that like, punishment is applying a negative a negative stimulus. Positive reinforcement is applying a positive stimulus. And then this is where I always see, this is why like school was so long ago that I need to remember uh the differences. The negative reinforcement I think is uh uh removing something removed to increase the likelihood of a behavior that you want to see. So like there's like think of it like a big chart. So
Mhm.
there's like positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, I guess is what this website is saying, and negative punishment.
Yeah.
So like adding something to increase the likelihood of something, removing something to increase the likelihood of something. This
Mhm.
is what you want to reinforce. Adding something to decrease the likelihood of something, or removing something to decrease the likelihood of something. So that's the punishment side.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, reinforcement typically leads to more positive outcomes of both kinds versus
Right.
all the types of punishment leading to worse off outcomes. But again, I'm not a parent. I'm not here to tell people how to
Of
parent.
course.
There's so much that goes into it. And it's more of just like, I think give people information and people will do with that what they will.
Yes.
But
But if there's
yeah.
significant bodily harm, that is where the absolute line is drawn as far as
Yes.
this is
Yeah.
considered abuse.
Yeah, and also like in this film, their father isn't just spanking, but he's also like beating
Right.
them with a belt, which I would
While drunk.
say while drunk. I mean, even if he's sober, beating them with the belt, I feel like that crosses a line. Like
Mm.
I remember in my mandated reporter, in the first mandated reporter training that I had to take way back when I was a wee baby social worker, there was like it was like a PowerPoint presentation, and they showed us some like pretty gruesome images, and you know whenever there's like an added object that needs to be involved, that usually is not
Mm.
leading to good outcomes for children. So like belts, wires, like cables.
Switches.
Yeah, yes, all of the
Trauma. It's
somehow get
PTSD.
into 50 Shades again.
I'm talking about myself. My parents would say, "Go get a branch from
I went
outside."
to
You know
50
what
Shades. Oh no, my brain. My brain is so broken from that stupid movie. Okay, we're talking about children, not adults.
Oh, not adults.
Compartmentalize.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Woo! Oh boy.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful gowns.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
my last question in brains, and I think maybe Brian might have had something, but my last question is the in your opinion, the time frame between the trauma that happened, and I think you were going to speak on this a little bit too when you're talking about likes and gripes. So the kidnapping happened with Finn, and he escapes, and the next scene that we see is him basically in school and going about life like everything is normal. Is there a time frame that you would suggest that he needed to process things before he was inducted back into society, especially at that age?
I mean, it's hard to put like a specific time frame or number on it.
Mm.
Um Yeah, because like we have no idea how quickly it's like, oh, you just survived. Next day, back to school, you have a test.
And I
Or
will say
like
it seemed
whatever is
like it
happening.
was like close because he's back with the same lab partner that he had when he dissected the frog. So it has to be the
Hmm.
same school year.
He's like, hey, what's up? I'm Finn. I was like,
It-
ugh, I hate this.
Yeah,
exactly.
This movie ended so
yeah,
stupid.
like being kidnapped and the trauma like made him more confident. That's what I got from this. Like even just the
And
way that
that's not a good message.
he handled the
No.
grabber. Like the message of this movie, that's actually a good gripe. The message of this movie was like being kidnapped will make you more confident. Like
Yeah, get
Mm.
grabbed, kids. Don't quote me on this.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
but I mean, like there probably needs to be some time, hopefully with a therapist.
Yeah.
But also in other ways, it makes me think like, how does like reconnecting with your peers, how does
Hmm.
that potentially help? And like,
Okay.
trying to return to some sense of normalcy after something that was like very intense and traumatic, like how might that how might that help in terms of like readjusting back to life? But like I don't know, he's cool now. I don't understand the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's just that part's stupid, but like the part about like adjusting
Yes.
adjusting back to um like back to normal. I don't know, I hate using the word normal in a therapeutic context, but
Right.
like
Yeah. I get that.
yeah.
Yes.
So like there's some part that I'm wondering, like, could it be beneficial that he's returning back and like with his peers and hopefully able to like socialize and again, please do the therapy. And
Please.
how might that help? But yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely seemed pretty fast. I mean, I don't know if that's more realistic or like the dad being like, I'll never do a bad thing ever again
Oh God. Don't.
is even
Can't
less
even.
realistic.
I'm
They need. I
still
mean, at the end of the movie, I was like, please get them away from that guy.
oh, I know, right? I like I hate when like these traumatic things magically make things better in movies when like that is not the case. It feels very this movie. Another thing, I feel like this movie ends Disney-esque. It has a Disney-esque ending where like everything is better because like we defeated the villain, but like
everything is better because we defeated the villain.
Yeah, that was
And I was
the
Disney.
closing number. Yeah, get grabbed.
Yes.
Get grabbed is the end of Act 1.
Yes. Oh my god.
Yeah, Black Phone the musical. But
With masks.
with masks. Oh yeah, directed by
Mhm.
Julie Taymor.
Work.
Joke aside, I would see that. But yeah, it was very Disney in that way when like this even though this movie like is not grounded in because like she is a dream warrior and whatever like
I was about to say a dream warrior.
yeah like this movie's not is trying to be as grounded as possible and that this like happy ending doesn't feel real or grounded and I don't know, maybe there's something I'm missing where like the idea is that this is all a dream or like that like not that it's a whole dream but like I don't know, maybe there's like some other symbolism here or whatever but like that's not what this movie presents and whether if this movie intended something different in execution it does not come across.
No,
but I didn't hate
not
it
at all.
Yeah.
I know we keep talking like kind of like middle of the road about it and I didn't hate it but I also didn't love it like I don't know. Yeah, that was all.
I definitely wasn't fully
I think we're just like harsh critics.
I don't know. The expectations really brought it down.
I think that's what it is. I don't think we're being harsh. I think that this movie was hyped up a lot, and so
I'm a harsh
I was more
critic,
hyped.
okay?
Okay, well, yes, Jamie is a harsh critic.
You are. If you take a look at all of her like 4
Ratings?
S's, she is easily the most brutal of the three of us. No question.
What can I say? I have very high expectations for horror and,
I mean, like we were so excited about Orphan First Kill, like I want to be excited about every horror movie in that way.
Yeah, totally. Oh
That
man,
wasn't
Orphan
the
First
case.
Kill, that was killer. What a twist.
Gosh.
Killer.
All right, y'all ready to do some Rotten Tomatoes?
Yes.
Yes. How rotten are those tomatoes?
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
Now I have to be out of the game because frickin' Peacock every time you press pause or play shows the thing.
Lucky for you, my short-term memory is terrible, so I don't remember what it is.
Great.
Yeah.
So Jamie, try and guess the critic score as well as the audience score. So we have
both.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Critics, I'm gonna say 78 for critics and 92 for audience.
Okay. The critic score is 82. And the audience score is a little higher at 88.
Okay.
Like,
so you're close.
Yeah, so critics' consensus on this is the black phone might have been even more frightening, but it remains an entertaining, well-acted adaptation of a scarily good source material. I don't think that's I don't know about the source material, but like I think that's accurate.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it even starts with the fact that like it could have been more frightening or better, but like it's fine for what it is.
Yeah.
Sure.
Audience says, with a terrific villain and a twisty story stacked with edge-of-your-seat thrills, The Black Phone is a must-watch for fans of suspenseful horror. I don't know what these people were watching.
Yeah, they weren't watching the same movie.
The only thing I'll agree with is terrific villain because Ethan Hawke is good.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, I will say that visual of him in the kitchen with the mask on and like no shirt and like he was holding a bat, I think, was like very unsettling.
Yeah,
like that part really freaked me out.
But also hunky.
Yeah.
No,
a little bit on the hot side.
Grabber is not for me.
Okay, Grabber's not for you. Good, get grabbed.
Get grabbed, kids. Get grabbed.
Oh God,
someone's gonna like call. And
I know. Be like, please.
But I didn't say where I'm licensed.
Oh, secrets.
All right, let's do the 4 S's.
Yes.
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
So the 4 S's are skulls, scares, shakes, and suggestions. We rank them 1 through 10 and then give a suggestion. Jamie, let's start with you. How would you rank this skulls, scares, and shakes? 1 through 10.
Sure. So once again, I am a harsh critic. For skulls, I gave this a 3 because I just again like I wanted more answers to things. I was left unsatisfied, not really understanding like the why for a lot of things.
Mhm.
So it just like it didn't totally work for me. And there wasn't that much like human behavior stuff that I feel like was really resolved or like everything just worked out so perfectly that I was like, this doesn't feel real. Like
Yeah.
the fact that Finney, like, yes, he was helped, but he was able to like make everything work very easily. I'm like, even if I had all those answers, I don't think I would have been able to get out of this situation
Mm-mm.
alive at all. So
No.
that felt less real. So I don't know how much people were really peopling in this. In terms of scares, I'm gonna give this a 4.5. Um, the jump scares didn't really get me. Brian jumping at the jump scares got me more than the jump scares.
Mm.
Um, and
Yes.
and again, there were some like unsettling moments, but I wasn't too freaked out by this movie. For shakes, I'm gonna give it a 3. Again, like it's not really sticking with me too much. So it'll probably fade away in my brain like
Yeah.
all the other things I forget.
Cool. Nikisha, what about you?
Skulls, I'm also going to give a 3 for the same reasons Jamie said. Not really human health. Human health. Wow. Human behavior and mental health. Human health. Scares, I'm going to give it a 2 only because of the jump scare of the kid that was upside down
That
when
got
he
me.
put the
That
flashlight
got me
on
real
them.
good. That one really got me
Mhm.
Yeah.
big time.
And shakes, I'm also going to give a 3 because it's going to go away in my brain. I'm not trying to suggest this to people right now.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna go with skulls as a 4. I think that it's trying to do some things. It's not really doing them. I think some of the scenes are good. Overall, I just think that like here's the thing. I think what this movie is trying to be is like a 1979 fairy tale. I think it's trying to
Mm.
be like a late 70s, early 80s, like, like suburban fairy tale with like messages and warnings in them. And then, like, there's this magical phone of all the kids that died trying to help them. That's what I think this movie is trying to do. I just don't think it
Mm.
executes it good enough, in all honesty. I think it's. I like that concept, but I also don't like if we're going for a certain moral. That's a weird moral to go with. Like, we need a little bit more information from it. So I get what it's trying to do, but I just don't think it executes it that well.
Mhm.
But it's a beautiful movie. In general, scares, I'm giving it a 4. Some of those kids really got me. Um,
Mm.
and this is a movie that I love the concept. I think the concept is fascinating. It just missed a lot of. There's a lot of missing opportunity for me, and that's why I'm just giving it a 4. I was gonna go with a 5, but after this conversation, I realized like I almost forgot what we were talking about tonight, and when we were
Yeah.
recording. So this is a 4
Mm.
from me. Um, but let's go with suggestions. Jamie, you said you had 2.
I do. I regret what I said in the beginning. If you don't like any of the trigger warnings for this movie, you're gonna hate my suggestions.
Yeah.
Um, the first one, okay, so I'll go on brand with horror. Um, if you want another movie directed by this director that I think has a very similar tone, but is way spookier and fucked me up, is Sinister. That movie
Yeah.
is just terrifying. Like truly, truly terrified me. Very unsettling. I think that's a great movie. It's not like this movie, but I feel like the tone of like the horror tone is this, but like much spookier.
Mm.
The other recommendation is not horror at all, but rather if there are ghosts that if people have been murdered and are in the afterlife and they are trying to help the people who are alive solve said murder.
Oh God.
It's the
Yeah.
Lovely Bones.
Okay. I thought you were gonna
Which
say Ghost.
no, oh my God, that would have been funny.
Yes.
No, I went with the Lovely Bones, which is like
Okay.
so much worse. I was obsessed with that book for whatever reason because the story is like not awful in like not good, but like just very intense themes for a book that I was obsessed with in like middle school. I don't know. There's a lot wrong with me.
No.
But yeah, if you're looking for a very strange 2-pack, that's what I got.
Love it.
Love it. Nikisha?
I just have one suggestion. If you want movies with someone trying to get out of something and they're seeing voices that are telling them how to get out of the things, Gerald's Game.
Oh, that's a
But
good
that's
one.
going to be a whole lot more gore and scares than this one. So
Yeah, that's a good one.
Directed by our boy.
I have two. One is Escape Room.
Yes.
That was a fun movie. This is Escape Room-esque. It's not the same type, but I'm doing that. And then I'm going with another phone call, but it's actually an episode. My favorite episode of The Twilight Zone, Nightcaller, is about, spooky phone calls. I'll just leave it at that. So that's Nightcrawler, the episode of the original Twilight Zone run, and then Escape Room, which is just a delight of a horror
Love it.
movie.
Fantastical. Well, that reaches the end of our episode. And guys, Brian kept his mask on the whole time.
Yeah, people are gonna think
my
that the
discomfort.
video broke just so I could take the mask off, but it's not.
Nope.
That's not true.
It's not true. He has it on there. So please, as producer Brian stated earlier, follow us on all social medias, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at Talk Horror Pod, and follow us on YouTube so you can see Brian's mask for half of the episode.
I was just looking for my mask.
That's it. The other half of it. And where can they listen to us,
Sure.
Brian?
Wherever you get podcasts, so Stitcher, Google, Spotify, and of course Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank you. Brian, give us that awesome quote.
Yeah, of course. Oh, my face ID doesn't work on my phone.
I thought you were just saying a line. Like,
yeah, I thought you were just saying my face.
No, the face ID doesn't. Yeah, my face ID doesn't work on my phone. 1979 film. You fat fucking fart knockers.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.